So welcome to Decoding Growth. I'm Ali and I run my business Gather and Grow. We're a HubSpot and Google Ads partner. I work with businesses all around the world, trying to understand why the funnel broke, why the sales team and the marketing team are not aligned, where the data lives, and why nobody trusts the data in their business. So we're going to keep all these episodes really short, no fluff, so let's get right into it. In my business, I of course implement HubSpot for a lot of businesses. Sometimes I get existing HubSpot accounts and I re-implement them. And I'm dedicating this entire episode on just how to pick a CRM. And I'm going to be completely biased. It's got nothing to do with HubSpot or any other specific tools. Of course, I have chosen to specialize in HubSpot because I believe in the business, I believe in the product, and I've seen it work really well, and it's super flexible for small businesses all the way to enterprise. So that's my personal choice. And it may not be right for you. And I want to dedicate this entire episode because I've seen time and time again in Facebook groups where marketers just ask between each other, oh, what CRM do you use? I've got a consulting business. What do you use? Or what's the best CRM out there? And it's got nothing to do with the best or the price or who uses it. Of course, they all play a role. But I often find they make one decision on this entire CRM, and it's quite a big decision because it impacts so many people's roles, especially if you've got multiple teams, even more. And it's not something you really want to be shifting from one CRM to the next if you can. So how to pick the right CRM for you is very important. And I'm going to show you what factors I look at and why. And again, like I said, absolutely nothing to do with the brand. There are many, many, many different factors at play. So the first thing is don't ask. By all means, ask what people are using, but don't make your decision based on what people are also using. Use that as a bit of a gauge, but then you must make your own decisions and you must have the right basics covered to make the right decision. It's not based on price, which is often a common one I see people make decisions on. Or another one is somebody said something about this CRM and I'm just going to pick that one. Or this CRM said they can do XYZ and XYZ is what I need, so I'm going to make my decision based on that alone. And please do not do that. So I'm going to go through the different factors in this episode so that we can go into it in more detail and you can make the right decision for your business at the right time. And it is quite common for businesses to shift from one CRM to the next, but not every year. It's something you want to do only if you have really outgrown it or you have to move for a different reason. Maybe it's to connect with an ERP or it was a company-wide decision, then fair enough. But you want to pick a CRM that you can grow with. The first one is to start by knowing where you are at in your business journey. Are you a one-man band? Are you 5 people? Are you 10? Are you 100? How many people will be potentially using the CRM? And we're not going to make a decision based on something that could be in 20 years, but we do want to know where we're heading towards. Are you currently using spreadsheets? How's that working for you? Let's say you have a CRM in mind, or you have a certain budget that you have to work with. If you're at that stage of the business, by all means, pick something that fits your budget. That is always the first goal. I never ask a business to get X just because that's the best. If you don't need it yet, don't do it. Get it before it's ready, before your business is ready, so that you're not then scrambling and wasting time trying to rush this implementation project. But of course, don't stick to spreadsheets just because you want to be efficient with your spend, but then you are not looking at what kind of automation opportunities, what scalable features it comes with, and what the data means to your business if you ever choose to sell, especially. Having all that system in place is really important. So the first thing I look at is understanding where the business is at in their journey first. The second thing I look at is the current process. Do we know what let's say, marketing to sales to customer service? Let's just stick with something quite simple. When a lead comes in, how's that being captured? And how does that then get fed into the next team? How does it get allocated? Is it a simple one? Do you need different rules or features or automation to be able to say this group gets this lead, this group get this lead? Do you have a way to divide the leads into good versus bad fit for a simple one? Do you have a customer service team that needs to use the same CRM? Are they using a separate CRM? Do they need to talk to each other? You have to do this anyway, regardless of what CRM you pick or not even pick what CRM. So you have to get very clear on what the overall process is. What's the customer journey is like? It is a customer relationship management tool. So you are trying to capture all the insights you can get from prospect or even traffic, and then understand all the little details of who gets notified, what tools, who does what at what stage. So for example, you might have a sales team who gets leads from, say, Apollo for their outreach, and then they feed it in. Maybe they do LinkedIn connection as part of their step. Or maybe it's e-commerce business, then it needs to, there's a the purchase online, who needs to be notified, then it needs to be passed on to the ERP. So all the processes, just flesh it out in a whiteboard on a piece of paper. Just talk to Claude, and it can spit out all the process for you. So this is definitely process number one. Without knowing this, you don't know what tools you're going to need to achieve those tools. The next one is to bring all your teams that might be using the CRM early on. So even if you're rolling out your CRM to, say, marketing first, and then you add on sales team, and then you add on customer service team, or potentially they're all at once. I've had clients do a very different approach. Each client's really different. The way they want to work, the way they want to implement, also very different. But definitely bringing the teams on early is definitely important. I don't think you should bring them all at once, but in terms of making the decision. So I would not be making a CRM decision just because I'm a marketing manager and I'm making my decisions just based on the CRM. Can it do email, SMS, website traffic? Does it have forms? And then I make my decisions purely on that. Or the sales team, where the sales team's trying to decide, all they think about is, I want to manage my deal pipeline. I want to be able to build reports. I want to know what my team's doing. I want to be able to have a weekly call on our dashboards to know who's leading and who's lagging and who's struggling. I want to know what the next steps are. And then they don't think about anything else beyond their sales team. So that's also a common mistake I see. So that's why I think it's really important to have someone who is, even if they are more leaning towards one team in terms of their role, that they have a say or enough connection with the rest of the team to be able to pull them together. That you might lean heavy on one side to make the decision, but it's very important to include them as part of the decision as well. Okay, something I notice that businesses don't really consider, maybe they expect it, but they don't consider it in terms of their decision when they're choosing the CRM, is ease of use. Ease of use is really important because you need to make sure that there is enough adoption by the team, because they are the ones who are going to be using the CRM day in, day out. Even I'm just going to set it up once. I'll be there for support, I'm there for consulting, but I'm not in there doing the day-to-day job. So their job is not to be successful at the tool. The tool is to make them successful at their job and to make their lives easier, achieve their goals, and reach the KPIs, and for the teams to work together. Regardless of what CRM, the teams need to work together to be more cohesive and to achieve this overall common goal. So I think it's really, really important that you pick a CRM that is easy to use by each team. Of course, there's always a learning curve. It's not going to be straightforward, but you don't want them to be spending time trying to just forever learning the tool. The tool should be quite intuitive, easy to use, and embedded in the process, which is why I started with the process first, because you need that for the ease of use to make any sense. Another one is support. So this one is definitely something that they don't think about until they need help. And I'm not talking about external help. I'm talking about just the CRM tech help. Ask what kind of support you're going to get. Is it live chat, email? Can you jump on calls? Do you have an account manager? What's the the response rate going to be like? What's the SLA? Do they have knowledge base articles? Watch how much investment those companies make in their support team, because when you're stuck and you need to do XYZ in your CRM and you're stuck, let's say you don't, let's put aside external help. You want a company that is really investing in their support team, because you don't want to be, let's say you don't want to be reliant on an external help. You need to know that the tool is there. You don't want to be sitting there applying. You don't want to be there logging a ticket and then have to wait 3 to 5 days. It be something realistic, but also see how much effort they are putting in now and in the future for customer support. The next one is integrations. As I said, I often see businesses, one team will make one decision because they're trying to do X, Y, Z. And then later on, they realize, oh, I need to do an integration. So let's look at X, Y, Z. And then they realize they can't do those integrations. Of course, nothing is perfect. There's no such thing as every tool can talk to everything. And not everybody can afford to build just their own API just for the one task. And sometimes sometimes that would be an overkill anyway. But it is important to know if you have like certain integrations that you already use with other tools in your tech stack and you need that to talk to your CRM, or would like it to talk to your CRM, then do your research, check it out, like see what the integration's like. If you're doing a demo with a partner, ask them to see if you can demo it. Of course, they may not be experts in that tool, but they could get a demo done for you. And also see how native the integration is, or do you need like a third-party tool like make.com or Zapier, or do you have to build your own API? It really depends. So it really, again, it depends on how important the integration is for you, and it's not so straightforward. Just because it says it does an integration, ask what does integration look like? And you yourself, because if you already know your process, you know what the ideal integration would look like, and then ask the partner or the other tech stack tool themselves to see if they can do a demo for yourself. Or you could ask for a free trial or get a free account and do the demo of the integration. So another topic that I think people don't really consider, because again, like I said, they're always thinking about their team and their immediate need, and they're not even thinking beyond that. But I always say, think about scalability. Even if you don't plan to scale your business from 5 to 10 to 15 or 100 people, at some point you do want to potentially hire. Always be ready to be able to scale it. So what does often scaling mean? Like, yeah, your cost will come from, in HubSpot world, then marketing contacts, maybe integrations, maybe API calls, maybe reporting, what level of HubSpot accounts, let's say HubSpot. Most of these CRMs also have levels, so you need to see where you can start with. Do you get a better deal if you went up higher and you get more features, or do you go a bit lower and then overall grow with time? And also, often with these CRM tools, it's natural in any business, there will be always add-on variable fees, as I call them. So you need to know what the variable fees will look like. And of course, businesses change over time. Even in HubSpot world, our credits have changed quite a few times because they're still trying to find their way around. But you just need to know what the cost will be as your business scales. And if you can scale with a business, you definitely do not want to be completely stuck with one business, one CRM, and then after that have to move when you could afford. Let's assume that you could afford the more ideal CRM, but it was maybe not within the initial budget that you had, but you technically could afford it. So always think about the scalability of the platform, the software that you're choosing you would like, but also think about the sunk cost that will come with that you would have to pay to migrate the data, to set it all up again in another CRM. So it's not so straightforward. Another one I always see businesses make their decisions on very quickly is budgets. It's in their minds. Maybe they've done research. Sometimes I worked with businesses where they didn't even do their research and they were maybe surprised by how much it could cost. Sometimes surprised that it didn't cost as much. But they sometimes make a very short-term, short-sighted decision if it's just purely based on budget, because then, like I said a few minutes ago, they're not really thinking about how much then will it cost me later to migrate. I need to set it up. I need to not just those costs, but also the setup, to take the time away from the team to retrain them in a new tool, update your processes, update your data, make sure those integrations talk again. So try not to make your decision just based on purely the initial CRM cost. Just try to think a bit more longer term before making your final decision. Another one is data security. I think this kind of fluctuates in terms of importance with different clients. If it is something really, really important to you, then make sure find out where their data is stored, how the data is stored, what kind of information can they provide if your IT team needs greater security. Um, like for example, HubSpot, well, you can just check with the legal team what is covered. You can check with the security team. They will explain to you where their data is housed. And often, if you're, let's say, in Australia, often your data will most likely be housed in Australia, in the US, and the EU, and so on. Especially in the EU, if you have GDPR and so on that you need to adhere to, see what kind of features your CRM is offering to you. Of course, with all these security, they do their part, but you also need to do your part. If you and also think about not just the data security in terms of access, but what can you store, what should you store in the CRM? For example, financial details or medical details or legal details. CRMs evolve over time. Even HubSpot in the past, you couldn't store PII information, so private identifiable information in the past, but now you can. And as the businesses mature, they also allow more data to be stored. So you have to get really clear on what you want stored, who manages it, what kind of level of security your company requires. Some of them, and of course, I would think these are quite standard. Your 2FAs, your MFAs, your single sign-on, your forms to have GDPR, privacy policy. I think these are quite basic, but always make sure all your bases are ticked off so that when you make your decision, you do make the effort to migrate everything onto the CRM. You are not then having to move again too often. And for the last thing, I always advise people who are asking, what CRM should I pick? Always ask for a demo. All these software companies, I would do a demo with both. One with just the CRM software, ask them for a demo. It'll be better if you can get you give information about what your goals are, what your challenges are, what your current process is like, and see if they can demo it for you. Ask them to keep it simple. If it's something you need it to be, just keep it quite simple. Some people like all the extra features to be added on. Tell what you need so that they can tailor the demo for you. So that's one demo that I would ask for from the software company. And if you're getting a partner involved, ask them also for a tailored demo, but you give them information about your processes and get them to do a demo for you. Ask them questions. My favorite tip is always ask for some sample dashboards. Of course, these are not real data and it cannot be made exactly for your business, but it should give you an idea of whether it will fit into your business world, and ask them all the questions you want in a tailored demo. They should both be able to do that for you, and you should ask for it. So that's it for this one. I'm Ali from Gather and Grow. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Give it a thumbs up if you like this video, and see you in the next one.